Most internet celebrities disappear the same way your New Year's resolutions do. They explode onto your screen for a month, everybody milks the joke until it's bone dry, and then they quietly evaporate into the digital afterlife where forgotten memes and abandoned crypto projects go to die. Daniel Larson somehow missed that exit. Instead of fading away, his story just kept getting stranger. It started with awkward TikToks, spiraled into internet-wide trolling, turned into one of the weirdest rabbit holes online, and eventually ended with something nobody would have predicted when he was filming blurry videos on a busted phone, a federal criminal case. And somehow, that's still not the weirdest part. If you've only seen Daniel through clips, you probably know him as the guy making bizarre public announcements, claiming to have celebrity connections, or wandering around looking like he just lost an argument with reality itself. But watching 30 seconds of Daniel Larson is like reading the first page of a 1,000-page novel and deciding you've got the whole plot figured out. You don't. Because this isn't just the story of one mentally troubled man going viral. It's also the story of thousands of strangers deciding it'd be hilarious to pour gasoline on a fire that was already burning. Some people treated him like a celebrity. Some treated him like a science experiment. Others treated him like an NPC whose dialogue options they could rewrite in real time. And for years, Daniel believed almost all of it. Before TikTok knew his name, Daniel Larson had already lived through more instability than most people experience in a lifetime. According to Daniel himself, he was removed from his mother's care when he was very young after allegations of severe neglect. He was eventually placed with his grandmother, Nancy, who became the closest thing he had to a stable home. Daniel has also said he was diagnosed with several developmental and mental health conditions as a child, including autism, ADHD, and bipolar disorder. Whether every diagnosis was accurate has been debated over the years, even by Daniel himself, but one thing isn't really up for debate. He struggled. For a while, though, things appeared relatively quiet. A local television segment featuring the foster care program he attended painted the picture of a teenager who was making progress. His grandmother described him as difficult at first, but improving over time.
Tennyson Center for Children has become one of the Rocky Mountain region's leading treatment centers for emotionally and crisis-affected children.
When he came to Tennyson almost 3 years ago, he was very angry and confused and feeling very uncertain about his life and where he belonged and what was going to happen.
I learned to, when I'm in school, to do school and never quit, because if you quit, you won't know what to do.
He likes himself now. He feels good about himself. I'm not saying he's a finished job. He's got more work to do, but he's a much different child than he was when he first came here.
Looking back, it's almost eerie. Because if you freeze the story there, Daniel's life looks like one that's finally starting to move in the right direction. Unfortunately, that chapter wouldn't last. In 2019, Nancy passed away, and with her went the person who'd spent years trying to keep Daniel's life anchored. The timing couldn't have been worse, because not long afterward, Daniel found something that would completely reshape the rest of his life: TikTok. The app that turned ordinary people into overnight celebrities was about to meet someone who couldn't always tell the difference between genuine support and thousands of people laughing at him instead of with him. The problem wasn't that Daniel wanted to be famous. Millions of people do. The problem was that Daniel seemed to believe fame had already happened. When he created his early TikTok accounts, they weren't named like someone trying to build an audience. They looked like fan pages that already existed. His videos carried the confidence of a celebrity making announcements to millions of supporters, even though hardly anyone knew who he was. At first, it was harmless. He posted about becoming an actor, then a singer, then both, because apparently choosing one career path is for people who enjoy making reasonable decisions. The internet noticed almost immediately, not because his music was incredible, not because his acting career was taking off, but because people couldn't quite figure out whether they were witnessing confidence, delusion, performance art, or all three crashing into each other at once. Then came the comments. Normally, comments are where creators find criticism. Daniel found an entire cast of imaginary employees. Random users started introducing themselves as record label scouts, managers, producers, industry executives. Instead of questioning why a major label representative's username looked like it had been created during a middle school lunch break, Daniel accepted almost everything at face value. One day he'd proudly announce he was working with one label. A little while later, I am now with Atlantic Records. Then another, then another. The labels changed almost as often as the weather, but Daniel's confidence never did. To him, every new comment wasn't a joke. It was another step toward the superstar career he genuinely believed was unfolding.
I am not allowed to say where I'm getting this information from. All I can say is I am in contact with celebrities.
And honestly, the internet deserves an award for commitment here. Not a good award, more like the kind you receive after collectively deciding, what if we convinced this guy he was preparing for the Grammys? The audience kept growing, ironically at first, then obsessively. People weren't just watching Daniel anymore, they were studying him. Every upload became another opportunity to influence what happened next. If someone claimed to be his new manager, Daniel often believed them. If someone suggested he make an announcement, chances were he'd make it. If someone invented a fake opportunity, there was a decent chance Daniel would start talking about it as though contracts had already been signed. Eventually, the line between Daniel's decisions and the internet's suggestions became almost impossible to separate. One of the strangest examples came completely by accident. At some point, the front camera on Daniel's phone developed a cloudy, blurry appearance. Whether it broke after being dropped, hit, or simply gave up on life after witnessing too much is anyone's guess. Instead of asking why the camera looked like it had been dipped in milk, the internet did what the internet always does. It made lore. People flooded the comments talking about the fog, as though Daniel had unlocked some cursed horror game ending. Every blurry upload only fueled the joke further, while Daniel carried on completely unaware that thousands of people were role-playing around a broken camera lens. Looking back, that's probably the last period where Daniel's online story could still be described as bizarre, rather than genuinely disturbing. Because before long, the joke stopped being harmless, and the internet stopped treating Daniel like a meme. It started treating him like a puppet. It didn't happen overnight. There wasn't a single day where everyone collectively decided, all right, today we're ruining this guy's life. It was slower than that. Every successful prank encouraged a bigger one. Every fake manager inspired 3 more. Every outrageous response from Daniel convinced people they could push the boundary just a little further. And the worst part? Most of the time, they were right. Daniel rarely questioned who was messaging him. If someone claimed to represent a record label, they were suddenly part of his team. If another person claimed to be handling public relations, congratulations, you'd just been promoted to a job that didn't exist. At this point, Daniel's life had essentially become an open source project. Anyone could contribute. Unfortunately, a lot of those contributors had absolutely terrible ideas. As the fake management groups multiplied, so did the increasingly bizarre requests. Some were just stupid. Others were designed to embarrass him publicly. Daniel, seemingly convinced these people were helping build his career, often went along with them without much hesitation. The joke had evolved. People weren't laughing at random TikToks anymore. They were actively steering the direction of someone else's life. That alone would have been disturbing enough. Then November arrived. Up until this point, Daniel's online reputation mostly revolved around delusions of fame, awkward videos, and internet trolling. That changed almost instantly when people discovered an old Pinterest account allegedly belonging to him. And this is where the story stops being internet comedy for a while. The account reportedly contained collections of images involving underage celebrities, alongside other material that immediately raised serious concerns. Once people connected the account to Daniel, the internet exploded. Daniel initially acknowledged the account and apologized. Then the explanations started changing. Sometimes he claimed the account had been hacked. Other times he implied someone else had accessed it. Occasionally, he acted like he'd never even heard of Pinterest in the first place.
Somebody was telling me of some type of social platform called Pinterest. I wonder what type of printer it uses.